Did you know the top 10 mobile games in the US grossed more than $340 million in June? Do you want your game to earn more? AppFigures is all about giving game makers the tools they need to get more downloads and revenue. You may already know them for analytics and app store optimization. Now, AppFigures can help you keep track of competitors and the game market. From how many downloads they're getting and how much money they're making to their audience demographics and even which tools they use to power their games. Their competitor intelligence gives you great context. Got a great idea for an app or a game? With AppFigures, you can figure out how big the market is and how much money you could be making with it. Say a competitor adds a new feature or was mentioned in the news. With AppFigures, you can see if that brought in more downloads, and that's just scratching the surface. Whether you're growing your game or building a new one, AppFigures has what you need to reduce risk and get more downloads. Best of all, you don't need a large budget or data science degree to do this kind of thing anymore. AppFigures has made it affordable and simple. On top of tools, AppFigures also provides a lot of guides and tutorials to take you step by step through gaining more visibility with ASO and increasing your revenue by learning from your competitors. They just released a free guide on that actually. Head to appfigures.com/on/gaindev unchained to try AppFigures for free. Again, that's AppFigures, appfigures.com/on/gaindev unchained to try it for free. If you like it, use our special code GDU3030 to get 30% off for the next 3 months. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Game Dev Unchained, the #1 game development podcast of game development and the lifestyle thereof. I am your host, Brandon Pham, back at it with the part 3 of 5 series of what is the best of 2021. In this part 3, I want to kind of go over all the roundtable news the past year that basically laid out what this year looks like. The first up is about Blizzard. Blizzard itself has been going under a turmoil of internal issues and have been kind of publicly about how these issues kind of unfolded with a lot of harassment suits, a lot of trouble with their employees, and employers kind of reacting in a bad way, which kind of followed with a lot of walkouts and overall bad news. So with this first part highlighted with Ray Graham, we talked about how Blizzard and what the after effects of that means, which we saw later in the year, how Ubisoft and other bigger companies were kind of going through similar issues. So please enjoy. This is from episode 282, Blizzard Under Fire. Enjoy. Brad, this is the part where, all right, something's up. Another African-American employee who worked in information technology was similarly micromanaged by her manager. Unlike the men on her team, when she requested time off of work, her manager made her write a one-page summary of how she would spend that time off when no one else had to do any write-up. All right. That is a red flag. If you had to write a note,
what?
Like you're in 5th grade of how you would spend that time
off, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a bit crazy. Yeah, that is not normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the main issue is with the bigger company like Activision Blizzard, they often try to push this under the rug as quickly as possible before it snowballs into what it is now a big problem. And it's unfortunate, but it is kind of like the norm for these companies to act and react that way. And I'm kind of curious to see, especially with Blizzard, right? What I'm seeing with Blizzard, because Blizzard has kind of been on like a downfall-ish as of late in terms of monthly subscriptions to all their franchises, right? Combined, it's been kind of dropping. I think the last graph I saw was 50% over like 3-5 years or something, which is a lot. Not just WoW, Overwatch, everything. And so it's part of the onslaught of what we've been seeing, where Activision Blizzard is becoming more and more Activision controlled, right? There was a couple years ago where Activision's management kind of went in, and Blizzard doesn't manage really their own team anymore. They're starting to use the publishers team to kind of market their game and at least manage that part of it. So we saw like the external development or external management from Activision starting to move in and take more control of Blizzard a few years ago because of the slow downfall that we're seeing now with a lot of their thing, right? And now with Blizzard OGs kind of being pushed out, how much of Blizzard is left is what I'm asking.
I mean, Blizzard has been bleeding its OG talent for a while, but that might be a good thing.
Yeah.
Right. That might be change and bring in fresh ideas and fresh things. And the next thing they do might be another huge success, right? Like it's hard to say if it's like these special snowflakes were the ones that made these great games, or they're the ones that made those great games at the time. And that idea was hot at the time. And in the year 2021, that idea is no longer hot, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. And then now you need the fresh new blood that's thinking differently about what the next big thing is going to be or the next experience is going to be.
Yeah,
it's hard to say. It's hard to say. But this decline of Blizzard has been going on for a while. Meanwhile, Activision stock is doing the best it's ever been doing. You know what I mean? So I don't know how much of that's really been hurting their bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, if in the end they're just worried about their stocks going up or down, then a Blizzard blip won't hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. I feel a lot of what the stock's been going through is kind of remnants of old success of the Blizzard flame, right?
Well, the other part of Activision has been going very well, right? Call of Duty,
Candy Crush
are killing it, right? Yeah. King and.
Well, here's the dangerous part, right? Here's something I did read with Blizzard kind of slowly flaming out. Activision, the other half, quote unquote, are going harder and harder with the just Call of Duty. Right, a lot of the other franchises besides COD are kind of being roped into the COD development family, and they're really putting all their eggs in one basket. So there's like a lot of articles that I'm reading.
What are the Warzone numbers?
Yeah, it's doing well.
No, it's not doing well. I think that's an understatement, right? Warzone's doing incredible.
Yes.
Right. And so, that's what they're going to do, right? I would love to know what Warzone's.
Yeah, I'll look it up right now. I mean, the pandemic did it wonders, I think. I think in terms of growth during the pandemic, it did its best.
Activision Blizzard's Call of Duty drives 27% of the Q1 revenue in 2020. That's in 2020.
Yeah.
Revenue's growing. Yeah, revenue grows 21% and driven by Black Ops, Call of Duty is the moneymaker, you know what I mean? And you can't really be mad at that.
Yeah, and its mobile is actually doing really well too.
Yeah.
COD Mobile. Yeah, I mean, my concern is that
maybe there's too much focus and there's not new IP and stuff, but this is something that we've seen in the industry forever. Like when GTA was the hot thing, everybody was making GTA clones and pouring a lot of money into the next open world thing. That's calmed down quite a bit, and now the next wave of investment from other companies seems to be like, I need some sort of games as a service shooter that people will play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, on behalf of the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, it seems like men were being groped as well.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah.
It's not a safe place to be anywhere, man. Can't be this good looking. It's jail rules.
It's a good thing you don't have to worry about
it. You'd be surprised, man. I am a type for some people.
Stop it. Anyway.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I mean, I know some friends that actually left right before this all blew out, knowing that it would become a problem. But they did say that they say they witnessed some of this, but at the same time, they feel like a lot of these claims are kind of leftovers from the old crew. Like a lot of the big stories are kind of from.
Well, they're from a while. They're from some time ago. But also like in that story that we're not really focusing on, there's also like talks of pay, inequities, right? And that's something that's they found to still be ongoing, right? So like it's not necessarily just like, oh yeah, that's not a problem anymore. It's always something that you have to be always mindful of and have policies and things in place that won't let it just breed and fester. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to ask you about that, right? With this kind of hybrid approach, a lot of companies still figuring out exactly how many people they want back in the office, how many they don't. We're seeing the tech companies around the Bay Area kind of focused on kind of reducing pay if you're not in the area, right? If you're in another state.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How do you see that factoring in with all this unequal payment and all that stuff? Like, is it going to get lost, all this kind of progress we're making on this side? Like that's going to mess things up a bit.
Well, yeah, that was actually that's been a hot topic because there's like a camp of people that are like, if I'm going to do the same job as somebody else, it doesn't matter where I live, just pay me the same money for the same work.
Sounds like employee. Yep. Yeah.
Period. Right. At the same time, I'm living in
cheap
Idaho, and I could buy a mansion for $2, and I'm walking around town wearing a gold crown every day.
Yeah.
What am I doing to that local community? Because some company in California has enough money just to pay me crazy amount of money, right? Some people would say that community in Idaho everybody needs to get paid, but that could have a really crazy impact on the economy of that place, right? So there's the other camp that argues that you have to get paid the local market rate for that type of job in where you live, right?
That's an interesting.
I don't know, like how that place is pay equity in a way, right? Because like when it comes to gender, male, female, no gender, whatever, the person, if two of the same people are in like Idaho, then the pay should be the same, right?
Yeah.
But if they're in San Francisco, the pay should be the same, but it should be this San Francisco rate. And like, you know, the HR and the comp team will argue why this is important all day long, right? But none of that will still convince people that, you know, same work, you should get the same pay, no matter where you
are. I mean, it might be easier.
Because you're bringing the same value, because you're bringing the same value to the company.
Right. I think it's easier for people that is just starting to get onboarded, and then you can make that argument and it's like whatever. But what we're seeing is a lot of people who are used to a salary are getting reduced salary because of this.
Yes. But I mean, that's just like, you know, you've interviewed for jobs in different places to relocate and stuff, right? And immediately they tell you, well, you know, our cost of living is way less than San Francisco, right? That's the first thing they want to tell you, because they're about to tell you that they're not going to pay you as much, right? Right. And if you look at it on paper, you move to that place, you're getting paid less. Sometimes you end up living even better because it's like it's way cheaper, right? And the pay cut is still not. The pay cut is less than the change in cost of living. You know what I mean? So like something you still come out ahead, but like that's been a thing. That's been a thing ever since I've been in the industry. Right?
But is it really a thing that somehow you getting paid more in a community that's used to a certain lower salary? Is it that big an effect? I mean, what is the? Let's explore that a bit more, because I that's the first time I really thought of that. Like, what are the dangers of someone rich in your neighborhood? Like, is he buying up more land? Like, what's the fear here? Buying more,
yeah. Well, I mean, look what's
in and
happening.
out.
Like the whole term gentrification, right?
Yeah,
is rich people going to
just pushing others out.
And you just push others out because now you can afford to buy whatever, right? And so then you buy whatever, drive up the housing costs because you can't afford it, and it pushes lower income folks out, right? That's
like Texas right now.
San Francisco, Oakland, right? Like New York.
Well,
right?
Texas is a hot spot right now. A lot of our friends, a lot of people we know are kind of moving to that new Tex hub space, right?
Yeah. And you know what? But you know why they're moving there? Because they're like, oh, Texas is cheaper. But then they're all bringing California jobs and a bunch of money.
And it's all rising up now. And the locals are complaining about it. Yeah.
All right. And same thing in Seattle. Right? So that's like
it's a problem.
That's something that you have to be mindful of, right? Like how will that actually impact a community?
So that is a legitimate argument. It's not just an employer being.
I mean, like it is, but the person getting the pay cut doesn't care regardless, right? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Right?
All right, everybody. For the second part, I want to highlight one of the biggest issues last year that we saw kind of unfolded was Epic versus Apple. So why is this significant? Well, throughout the year and a little before that, we were seeing how Epic with Fortnite was going up in arms against the big Apple, right? Big Apple didn't back down. Instead, they doubled down and banned Fortnite and Epic from its app store. Well, Epic, kind of fighting for the little man, came back with saying that, there was basically a dictatorship in the app store, and how Apple needs to kind of open its doors so that not everybody needs to be charged 30%. So even though Epic was found later to be in violation of everything, eventually Apple had to overturn its 30% cut to just 15%. So there were a lot of changes that came positive out of that. Ray Graham and I dedicated episode 273, the final showdown between Epic Games and Apple. So the Epic Games Store made $235 million in 2 years. So that's at a loss, because the last time we talked about that, they spent well over $330 million just to buy the first person parties, something around those lines, to kind of have those exclusives.
I don't think it was 300. I thought it was like 25 million, wasn't it?
No, man. I'll look this up, man. You look it up. Wow.
Yeah, I can remember.
It was a ridiculous number.
I don't remember it being that high. Maybe I'm just tripping.
Well, Tim Sweeney said that was a success. So it was absurdly high, I remember. If you can look that up and confirm.
That's what it was. They spent at least 11.6 million on the free games.
Right.
That's what it was.
On the free games.
Yeah. And got 5 million users in return.
Yep.
Yes.
And then they also revealed they spent over $444 million in 2020 to attract more PC gamers. So that's just marketing.
Yeah.
Wow, man. I didn't know they had to expose all that. It's so private.
Financials, man, because the whole case is about how much money you make and what's the size of the market and all that kind of stuff, right? So you have to release all that information if you really want to make your point, I guess.
The one surprising thing that I don't know if you were aware, and we're looking at an article from Push, the reveal of the revenue for Fortnite, 50% of that was made on PlayStation.
You surprised?
I'm very surprised.
Why?
I don't know. For some reason, I thought the Switch or something more affordable was going to be a stronger player, but I had no idea that Sony had that much power.
Well, it's not about Sony having power. Sony has a lot of users, right?
They do have a lot of users. Yeah, but like Switch was pretty much up there too, dude.
Yeah, but when it comes to the revenue is from people buying stuff, right? And so the crowd of people that would have the most expendable extra cash to be throwing at Fortnite things would be the ones that could afford the more expensive console, you think? You know what I mean?
$5 billion made just on PlayStation. Sony was happy. Like, why are they complaining? Because Sony still does the 30%, right? Don't they, on microtransactions?
Yeah, I would imagine Sony must have got something off of that. Yeah.
And they're mad at Apple. Because Apple wasn't even 10% or something. Let me see. What is it? They have the numbers here, actually.
iPhone?
46% was from PlayStation 4. 27.5% was contributed by Xbox One. And then only 7% was only on iOS.
Wow. That's crazy.
Okay. So the remaining 18% were between PC. Wow, PC is still such a small market. Android and Nintendo Switch. That is surprising. So just 18% PC, Android, and Nintendo Switch. Yeah. That's why no one cares about these guys.
PlayStation killing it. I guess it was a good idea to not do save the world mode. After all, I love that mode. And it just nobody played it, got no love, and then they pivoted to Battle Royale, and that was that. And
Save the World was the original.
Yeah, it was the original. You build forts and zombies and come and attack your forts, basically.
Yeah, it was the game before PUBG told them to make it a game. And it's one of those, I guess, pretty synonymous story when it comes to success, right? It has a bad guy origin, right? But then looking back, like $9 billion later, looking back, it was the right decision. It's like,
I mean, okay, it's like this, right? And some people out there are all about capitalism and all of those things, right? And so, yes, as a purely capitalistic move, you see a trend, you move to where the trend is at, and you exploit. And they definitely did a lot of work to exploit and monetize the hell out of it. And the content kept coming, right? And the content delivery and everything, that's a lot of work. You know what I mean? So they definitely put some effort in. But at the same time, sometimes, you got
to do what you do.
Sometimes the good guys don't win, right? That's
I feel like most times good guys don't win. I'm still here. I'm still here talking to you, man. So, anyways,
when it comes to $9 billion, it's all about being as cutthroat as you can in order to do it. Right? So.
What's funny that they're in this case because we feel like these two companies are pretty cutthroat and they're fighting each other on it. What's interesting about this PlayStation information is we'll kind of hear more stories to it, but a few weeks back, like PlayStation, Sony didn't want to do the cross-play stuff. Like they were most resistant. Obviously, with that many microtransaction and many players, 50% right of the playing field, I guess they had somewhat of a say of wanting to keep that within their ecosystem as much as possible, right?
Yeah. And, they have enough players to do stuff like that. They can lock. They don't necessarily need to be promoting crossplay if they have a really large player base. Right?
Yeah. So this is 9 factoids that I found on MSC Money that was the most interesting bits from this court case that kind of revealed things, right? So you being the ex-Apple guy, these are skeletons from your closet that we kind of knew about, but now made unavoidably clear that Apple definitely has an agenda, right? Obviously.
Well, yeah. Okay, hold on. Here's the thing. If you think this is a big bombshell or some sort of news the Apple ecosystem is a closed
it's very important.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, and Apple has been on record saying that it's closed for a reason, and this is why it's closed. And of course they say, the good things, right? Like protection of the users and privacy concerns and all those things. But at the end of the day, it's so that they could completely control hardware, software, integration, make it nice, right? The integrations are super nice, but it is a closed ecosystem, right? And so, like that whole factoid that came out of the case about iMessage was locked down because they wouldn't want to put on Android. Yeah, well, yeah. iOS is a lockdown ecosystem. Of course it is, right? So
this is the party.
They want you to buy more Apple stuff. Like that's just how it works.
It makes sense, man. Like it's always since in any tech, right? A private party is always the cooler party than the one that's open to everybody, right? So I mean that's the Facebook social network premise right there. But I will say this. I mean, I'm listening through the Steve Jobs book right now, his biography. Basically, like it's okay to be an asshole.
That's the. I don't know which one you're reading, but the one I read was pretty. Was
the one by the famous one, right after he died.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Okay, but for the listeners, let me look it up. By Walter Isaacson.
Yeah.
I'm listening to that. I mean, it was very interesting. I'm still in the middle of it, but like I'm coming to respect how Apple plays into the tech world, right? I mean, they've always been the innovators before Microsoft, and they've always been this closed system. I mean, they've been through it with Microsoft as basically servicing everyone else. And now they're going through it with Android that is servicing everyone else. So the common denominator has always been Apple. And it's funny that, Microsoft tried to get in the phone business and completely failed, right? So, this first little factoid right here for those that are watching was mainly about how Apple keeps its iMessage within the system. What's interesting is, of course, they had ideas to make it more like WhatsApp, where anybody can kind of message within each other or within that system. But then, as soon as it was brought up in 2013 and 2016, it was completely shut down for the same reason that Ray kind of shared, right? Yeah. But it's nice to kind of hear
where's the money in that? There's no money.
I know, right? It makes sense. It makes sense. And Apple is, how much I hate it, right? I do like that smartwatch. Like it is unbeatable and unequal. And trust me, I'm wearing a Fitbit smartwatch, because that's literally the only useful smartwatch that isn't the Apple smartwatch. I looked at the Galaxy watch, right? I was like, what the shit is this? It's like ugliest, clunkiest thing. It's barely supported. Yeah. And basically every other watch besides the Apple Watch, it just does not match in quality and in price. So. And it almost made me feel like, should I buy an iPhone? So it works in that degree, right? It's like, this product is so cool where I might have to buy in with this bullshit, right? But, I'm going to stick with my smartwatch for now, right? I'm good with my Fitbit. So this is the factor I was bringing up earlier with the PlayStation. How the crossplay was such a huge deal, right? Where PlayStation was the most resistant. But it showed that it was way sketchier. There was like a lot of emails back and forth between them, Epic and Sony. And there was a lot of complicated like proposals to make it work and profitable, mostly on the Sony camp, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're sitting there with the numbers in front of them, and they're obviously, hey, I want more of the pie. If you want to open this up for Sony players to play with others, right? It benefits you obviously because your game is going to be bigger, but we need to see some of that cheese to make this work. So obviously they made some concessions because now it is crossplay, and it is a milestone that I don't think a lot of
the industry gives credit to Epic. Like, that was the first major game that ushered in crossplay in a meaningful way, right? I can't remember another game that is as impactful. And I hope in the history of games that a whole chapter is dedicated to that, because I don't remember a game I ever played with anyone on another system, and how revolutionary of an idea that is. And Epic did it, right? It is cool to play with other people.
Look, but I mean, that's not the first game to ever do that.
The big major one, I don't think even COD did that until after.
Nah, man, nah. Yeah, like I'm sure there has to be some fighting game, Street Fighter,
not a game that is that big where everyone's playing and talking about
Street Fighter, dude. You tell me Street Fighter's not a big game, bro?
It's not that. It's not as big as Fortnite, bro.
It's not making $9 billion in 2 years. That is correct. However, that's a big AAA game. I'm sure there's been others that have been crossplay, and the ones that are crossplay and they just don't talk about it, like, because it just kind of works right across different,
it's called bad marketing.
Windows and Xbox, or one platform or another. Like, there's been multiple instances of that before, for sure.
Yeah,
I wouldn't call it as revolutionary is all I'm saying. So,
right. But I think the impact is definitely felt the most with Fortnite, with every kid during the pandemic, before the
50% of the revenue. Yeah,
it's huge.
For sure, that's some impact.
The third piece of news is, one of the biggest thing that Epic has been arguing is that, all the rules aren't fair, right? Epic has like this hard, fast rule of 30%, but there's a history of them kind of letting certain companies bypass that rule. So they're picking and choosing who their friends are. And that is a very strong argument, and just basically been proven through this case, right? With Apple basically treating Netflix and Amazon very special because of the amount of users that they bring in.
Yeah.
The 30% cut isn't exactly 30%. For any of those two. Like, I last time I heard it was half.
I think Apple could afford to charge less.
Yeah.
Right. And especially when it is somebody who has that many users like Amazon, although Amazon still doesn't sell anything on the iPhone in the app. Right. Like, it sells stuff, but it doesn't sell digital things. You can't buy Kindle books on your Apple device. You have to go to the website to buy a Kindle book.
Right. I mean, Amazon still bypasses that.
Yeah, because Amazon's like, we're not paying. We're not paying for every book, right?
Yeah.
And so it's understandable to have deals. Like, if it's your platform, you can do whatever the hell you want, right? And you can strike up deals with people however you want. If you want to give Netflix and Amazon deals, you could decide to do that and then say, screw Epic. Epic is like trying to act as if they are on the level of like Amazon and Netflix. And it's like, nah. And on top, not only on top of that, like, we already talked about this. This whole thing is just silliness. They want Epic Game Store on iOS devices.
Okay, the next part is about Stadia. Now, Stadia, unfortunately, wasn't as successful as Google wanted it to be, or didn't give it the chance that it could have had, basically cutting a 5-year commitment to 2 years, which in any case, you can't make games like that, right? So with Stadia shutting down, what was significant is you saw the rise of streaming games being more applicable, with Microsoft going full in, as well as PlayStation putting some effort into this space. So even though Stadia was supposed to be this gigantic force to kind of break open what streaming games could look like, it opened a lot of doors for other companies to succeed through its own failure, right? So this episode is from 258, Stadia shutting down. Enjoy. A part of me a long time ago, there's no way Stadia is a thing ever. There's just nowhere coming back. I mean, I'm starting to see studios severing ties. These third party that are supposedly the focus of Stadia are slowly cutting ties with them. So I mean, the writing's on the wall. There's no one's left except for Phil.
Well, the only people that were like the games that were on Stadia were bought and paid for mostly, right? So they're like, yeah, sure, we'll put your.
All right, so they're just finishing
right?
what's on. Yeah, they're not out there fishing for more developers.
Yeah, well, I would imagine with this new focus that they're definitely not looking to put more games on. Like, I cannot see Stadia as a brand living much longer.
Yeah, it's gone.
And with the notice of shutting down SG&E, they very well could have just said, "Hey, we're just going to kill Stadia entirely as a brand and pivot it elsewhere." But they stopped short of that, which that's also kind of odd to me.
What is this? I'm trying to read this. No one support platforms moving forward. Have not done anything to violate your terms of service. See, every time I see at Google Stadia, what is this about? Do you know some context to this?
I have some context to that, but that's nothing really. That's just like the headlines were all like trying to blow it up, but it's really just homeboy lost access to all of his Google stuff somehow through some reason. And he's like, this is unacceptable. I'm going to just make sure my game doesn't come to Stadia at this point because Google's trash. That's really what happened, right? It has nothing really to do with SG&E being shut down. It's more to do with his personal Google account got wiped somehow, or he lost access to it somehow, and then got really mad about it.
Yeah. Well, Terraria is a big game.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so, though. You know what I mean? So.
All right, here's some numbers here. 150 employees. That's all they had? That was it?
Yeah.
So recently shut down all of its internal game studio, affecting approximately 150 people. Well, I thought they were like in the thousands or something. So they were still growing. Yeah, so there's no way, man, to build a AAA game with 150. Come on now.
Well, you got to start small. Like, you have to figure out what you're doing first, right? I did a team in Montreal. They had a team down in.
You start small 3 years ago. You don't start small 3 years in. So probably there is some credence to what you're saying. Now they're asking for 300 mil or growing the team bigger.
And Google's like, what do you mean? Like, you saw the letter that they wrote. Like, what does this say?
Let me find it. A formal letter of why they're shutting down.
Yeah.
I guess it is worth reading. Let me kind of pull it up right now. Was it Phil that wrote it?
Yeah, there's a letter from Phil, but
that dude, where else he's gonna run to?
Yeah, see, like one of the paragraphs in 2021, we're expanding our efforts to help game developers and publishers take advantage of our platform technology and deliver games directly to their players. We see an important opportunity to work with partners seeking a gaming solution, all built on Stadia's advanced technical infrastructure and platform tools. We believe this is the best path to building Stadia into a long-term sustainable business that grows with the industry, right? So this business saying, video games ain't where it's at. We're talking about, because at the same time, the amount of money that Google's dealing with and the type of profit and scale that they're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
Like, video games ain't that for them. You know what I mean? And they're like, no, like the way to get scale and make it a long-term sustainable thing is to turn it into a platform, right? And like, it makes sense if you're on the bean counter side of things, you know what I mean? And you're just like trying to make it make sense. How do we get the maximum amount of profit out of the money that we spend?
Yeah, but no one's going to your yard to taste your milk. If you're not doing any custom stuff to show off the technology, because people are converting stuff maybe, but it's going to be minimum spec of just like it being there to show true power of exclusivity. It's important.
And the one thing about this too, where the letter where it goes, what does this mean if you're a current or future Stadia gamer? You could continue playing all your games on Stadia and Stadia Pro, and we will continue to bring new titles from third parties to the platform. we're committed to the future of cloud gaming and will continue to do our part to drive this industry forward. That paragraph,
yeah,
I don't believe you, bro. Like I don't believe. I just don't believe you at that point, right?
Oh yeah, it's a done deal at this point.
That's where you lost me, right? So
yeah,
we'll see. Yeah.
Oh my god! So like, there's so many things to this where I told you so, man. I told everybody on this show. As soon as it was announced, it's like, it's Google, man. They're gonna quit as soon as it doesn't look like $1 billion thing day one.
I'll just challenge you a bit and say you were like you figures the whole Stadia thing would just flop and be dead off, right?
It's dead, dude.
It's still
You're
alive.
holding on to a corpse, dude.
It's still alive as a
spoiler, like Wanda with Vision. You're holding on to a corpse. Get out of Westfield. Westview.
Why are you spoiling the show?
It's episode 4 and it's your fault for not watching the best show ever. But
some people are waiting for the whole season to be done before.
Yeah, and they're lame. They're prolonging their chances of being spoiled. It's not my fault. But yeah, there's nothing left here. I will say streaming is still kicking and alive. There's so many streaming services. Even Nvidia, ironically, is lasting longer than Stadia at this point.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming. I thought Stadia would stay a little longer. But, you know, what Xbox is doing and their focus of like acquiring like some major studio power and IP is really exciting. I think they're going to, out of everybody is going to do it right. They're going to have the content exclusives to make it fun and awesome. And PlayStation will kind of lag behind in terms of that because they have such a strong $60, $70 purchase strategy going.
I have no idea what Sony's doing in terms of cloud gaming, honestly, because PlayStation Now is not it, right?
PlayStation Now is a slow test, but what they have is like this library of PlayStation previous generations that, like Nintendo, they just put it somewhere, man. I'll be happy to tune in and play Final Fantasy, any of them really, just to have a service going and not be worried about my phone chugging and stuff like that. There's a lot of value in it for sure.
I don't clearly see what Microsoft is doing, like clear as day. I don't see what Sony's doing with the whole streaming thing at all. Amazon is in the mix, of course.
Amazon.
I never. We're not talking about that article, but anyway. But
where was so the last article was
the Bloomberg one, the Bloomberg article.
I don't know the specific article. The last thing I saw was that new CEO really putting a focus on the gaming division. Like he as part of his, which is pretty surprising of a CEO's like highlighting games as like one of his focus.
I'll say that's very convenient after the Bloomberg article.
Okay, so what was the Bloomberg article? I'll pull it up as you kind of go over.
Man. Well, it's just generally it was just like another Jason
Schreier thing.
Schreier
ripping a new one.
Expose just talking about the video game division of Amazon Game Studios, and it was not very flattering.
Oh, you mean they suck?
And I think the headline was something like, Amazon
here we go.
So much money, but why can't they make a good game or something? I can't even remember what the headline was.
Well, I hate to say it. They just got the wrong people running the ship. So here's the Bloomberg article.
You basically
Amazon.
You basically summarized the multiple page long article. Yes, they had the wrong people running the ship.
Amazon can make just about anything except a good video game.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So I think they probably have a hand in Google's decision. It's like, hey, who's similar to us? Who's kind of a little ahead of us? Who has the muscle power? Oh shit! Down the block, Amazon. How many years are in?
Here's the thing: that article is talking about their game division, which is actually separate from the division that's doing Luna, right? And
Luna's their engine.
Well, Luna is the streaming service there.
Oh, streaming service.
And
okay.
the game thing is like Lumberyard and the actual video.
Lumberyard. Yeah. That's right.
Like if you could name one video game that Amazon Game Studios is making without looking it up, I would be really impressed.
Dude, I'd be impressed if someone's actively looking for a game that Amazon is working on. Let's just take it one step at a time. Who's really caring at this point?
I think two of them came out. Two of them have come out, actually. The Grand Tour game was from Amazon Game Studios. And
sure, no one's playing it.
And then also Crucible, which was a free-to-play game, and it got shut down like sometime in October.
Because it's a dumb name for a game. There's nothing exciting about that. Everything I've heard about Amazon and them trying to figure this out and pump something out, it's, again, we're not talking about the individual talented developers. It's just mismanagement, really. It's not understanding how the game dev business work. And I think at least through the grapevine, there's just been challenges internally of not really breeding creativity. And that's just classic bad studio culture. And so under those environments, you can't pressure someone to make a hit. And you have these egos that are probably underqualified to even take care of things, and they're running the ship to the ground. I mean, guys, like, if you want to rent me to give you a 101 on game development, I'll be happy to tell you. And I can do that, Eastern Asian thing where I read your face and be able to tell your whole life just from the expression of your face. He's an asshole. Don't trust that guy. Don't go down that hall. You'll never come back with any productive, right? That group is trouble. But I will say this. I do respect that they are going. And they are cranking it, and they have the willpower to figure it out. And the thing is,
honestly, I was calling their demise much sooner than Google Stadia.
So see how far wrong you are. Yet again, Brandon is correct.
Well,
Amazon will.
Here's the thing.
Figure it out.
Here's the thing. Am I wrong? Right, when they have shipped no games, or the games they have shipped have been bad and have been canceled? Or like which one's worse? Like completely shutting down and just giving up, or keep going and just never shipping anything of any
the latter, by far. Because then our friends keep getting employed and they get paid pretty damn good salary, right?
From that article, if you read that, pretty good salary, but that's also what bred the studio culture. That's what made people miserable, and that's what really made it a terrible place for a lot of people.
Well, I think during the pandemic, people are actually okay. It's like, this is not so bad. Now that I'm away from that a-hole, Amazon is pretty amazing. Right? You got to look at the perspective of things, like,
and then also like the whole decision around in choosing CryEngine as your engine, and then modifying it, and then saying you have to ship games on this thing, and then
was that weird?
And then switching gears and saying, okay, well, yeah, no, you could choose whatever engine you want to do your game on after spending years of burning money.
So I didn't hear about that part. Is that last part in the article, or recent years? They just
it's in the article. It's in the article. Yeah, but it's just like, come on, man, like,
Because at that point, management just want to ship something that looks good.
Actually, one of the articles was talking about this, and the article was talking about, one of the quotes from the article that I was just laughing at was like, instead of choosing like Unity or Unreal, which is like, Unreal's the Coca-Cola and Unity's the Pepsi. Yeah, they decided to make RC Cola. Right, and I could not stop laughing at that quote.
It's true. I mean, obviously, the decision
to that's cold-blooded. That's a cold-blooded quote.
Last but not least, late last year, we kind of talk about how the next 10 years look like, and it was a great episode because we were actually trying to foresee what game development will be turning into, and some of the predictions in this episode actually came true. So for those who are interested to listen to the full episode, it's episode 286, what the next 10 years look like. camp of Facebook, right? So that brings to me, since the last time we talked, for a long time, we have made fun of Amazon for a long time. And you were always in the camp of saying it was only a matter of time that Amazon will figure out its footing as long as they keep trying, right? Something that, Google can't really say.
I don't even remember saying
I think a long time ago, we both agreed around the table that because Amazon has so much source of income and they're so stubborn, right? Yeah. Where they have put so much money into the game industry and have not shown any signs of quitting. In times when me and you are like, dude, you just got to throw in the towel at this point. You're not going to understand. It takes a while. And they just truck through it, and now they finally have a hit, right? Sort of a hit, at least to a point where someone's actually talking about it. I see influencers talking about it. I see some kind of interest, and I also think the timing of it and the theme of the game, New World, is actually very fitting. And that's, the combination of like things that you can't plan. I think it has helped the game kind of flourish as of late. So I haven't played it. You haven't played it, but
the only thing I know, PC Gamer rated it at 60. That's all I know.
At a 65. It looks like it. This is what I truly believe. I don't think it's like the number one rated game. Yeah,
on Steam, it's like mostly positive ratings, and like on Metacritic it's 75. Right, but the user score on Metacritic is 4.4. So like, I don't know. It seems like, and also like when I look at it, every time I see an image of it, I just immediately get bored and just want to like just go to the next image. I'm not interested at all in anything I see.
Well, let me pull this up while we were talking about WoW, and for some reason you have like this memory of WoW being always wow.
I did not say that.
And I always thought of it as ugly, and then somewhat they made it their own, right? Give them some credit. Let's see. Let me see if we can see like
it depends on what you call ugly, right? Because I don't think Blizzard has bad artists, period.
Of course not.
I don't think there's a bad artist in the bunch, right? So like, what is ugly? Like what is the criteria that you're using here, right?
I wouldn't play the game because it's so ugly. That's the criteria. That's how I define it.
Like there's no normal maps. I can't play this. Like, I mean, like that's not a proper criteria, right? Like, sure. There's more to graphics and looks.
I will say this, they made it a style, and it was very definitive, and I think it helped kind of find a lot of their games that isn't WoW afterwards, right? They had a very
and they adhered to the style. You know what I mean? Yeah. They adhered to the style, and that's why I think the art. That's why I think it's stylistically is a good game, right? It's low poly, it's flat, like but it's good. Like it looked good. It looked good for the time, right? It wasn't the most high end, but it looked consistent and well put together. Right. Like I can't hate on WoW for that.
Right. All I'm trying to say by kind of talking about WoW is that if New World does last longer than this month, they'll have the time to increase their art capacity, right?
I see some. I'm looking at some screenshots of it right now, and it looks, it definitely looks better than WoW did back in the day. But
honestly, it's okay because
it's still boring.
Like for me, most MMO games, the measuring stick is so low, right? Like out of the gate, I think it already looks better than most Bethesda games. Bethesda. And those games do really well, right? So that's my measuring stick of like, okay, there's a chance here. But my main thing with New World is that because of the pandemic, because people were in solitude and self-isolation for a year, the timing of this and all the games that have been doing well, like that Viking game, And now
Valheim?
this Valheim, and then this, right? It's a chance to people to connect, and people are like hungry for it. And we're not completely out of it, obviously, at the pandemic. We're crawling sort of out. It feels like it, but we're not there yet. And there is like this weird, I don't know if you feel it, man. Like I feel it sometimes, like this weird depression of like just not knowing what's going on, really. Like it doesn't feel real, you know? And I think a lot of people are kind of going through this still and finding kind of avenues like New World to kind of feel normalized again. And the timing's, I think has been helping the game kind of.
I don't know if during a time where we're all cooped up inside, that gravitating towards playing an MMO that will encourage you to stay cooped up inside is what people are craving, right?
Well, that's what gamers are. to them, it's good enough.
I mean, like for me, I've been like, I've been trying to like get out more and
of course,
and meet people in smaller groups, these things. Like last thing I want to do is be at a computer when I'm at a computer all day, every day. In the same room, you know what I mean?
We're just at that age, man. But there's a lot of people that I find it myself. Like I'm not that into gaming as much as I used to. I do it mostly for motivation to create things now as my way of doing it. I still enjoy games, obviously, but like my drive of like, if I were to pick and choose, because of the pandemic, I would, like you said, try to congregate with friends and socialize, because I was missing that basically for a whole year. But I do feel like the equivalent of that to a lot of younger folks have been these type of, to them, this is the same, just connecting online and talking.
I don't know. I think even the most introverts would be tired of being at home at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it is pushing a limit, but it's this game, like I never play MMO, right? But now I'm starting to see the appeal of it because of the social aspect of I'll go raiding, and this game is fine. I mean, at least it's not like to a point where I'm sure there are bugs, right? I read a lot of bugs, but like it's playable to a point where it's enjoyable and not so taxing. The graphics not great, but it's not that bad. You know what I mean? It's not like it's workable.
I mean, like social games are always going to be a good thing, right? Because people just want to be sociable, period, right? Like it turns out like multiplayer games and social games do better than others that are not social or multiplayer, right? Because
especially now,
gravitate towards that. Some people hate that, right? But like I think the numbers tell us, a lot of people play social games, right? So that's always a good bet, right? But so I don't know if it's just pandemic or anything like that, but I don't know why this game's because I see reviews that are kind of like lukewarm on it.
Yeah.
But then it's not a complete flop, I guess, because everything's like lukewarm. It's not like a raging success either.
But like because of what has happened this past year, multiple game delays, and I'm sure there was a whole slate of games that were supposed to be released originally this year from 2 years ago are pushed back. There's this huge gap, right, of these type of games. Like what other MMO can we really name the past year and a half?
I mean, what MMO can you name in the last 5 years? Exactly,
right? So this is coming at such a perfect time. And in terms of marketing and whatever, I've always thought because they're Amazon, this is going to be easily on the front page of Twitch without any effort. And because of past games, they haven't done that. And this legitimately is being covered by a lot of influencers and streamers on their own. Gives it at least a little more credence of like, oh, there might be something here, which I respect, right? They didn't force it down our throats. And when I watch it, it's...
I watch this video right now and I'm bored to tears already.
But this is to me what MMO is. But like, you're playing with your friends and you're on an adventure. Like what other games are there that can do this? I mean, this is what Epic, this is what Facebook, this is what all the major companies are trying to go go towards a metaverse, right? Which I am looking forward to playing and looking forward to them figuring that out. Which leads me to...
Are you really looking forward to people figuring that out?
Honestly, I would love a mega game. A mega game that is kind of like towards what Second Life was. I think there is way too much right now. There's way too much content, right? And I would love the fact that there's one hierarchy that encompasses and organizes that and gives everyone a little bit more of a chance. Like the idea of a metaverse that is able to be that breaks all barriers of what a mobile game and what a AAA game, which is the main thing I feel. Like what you mentioned before, the AAA games are patting on themselves on the back for selling 20 million copies and such, while the mobile games kind of like have the real numbers and championing what really success looks like. Yeah. And I feel like game developers all over are pretty much segregated at this point on through ego or through what they're working on. And there isn't like a singular voice, right? So I think with Metaverse, hopefully it doesn't completely just water down all the variety that we can give, but it'll be kind of nice, I think, an organized thing that everybody can enjoy and join and play if they want to.
But
right?
But that's not what's happening though, right? Like Facebook's
not at first. Not at
Facebook's going to do its thing. Epic's going to do its thing. They're not going to talk to each other, right?
Of course not.
They want to own. These are going to be separate walled gardens, right?
Sure, but they're always going to be a number one and number two, right? So when I watch Ready Player One, that idea excites me. Like it would be really cool. Really? And that concludes this part 3 episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed how these roundtable news were about a lot of ranting, but informational as well. And always looking forward to kind of sit down with Nepal Ray to discuss potentially what could and cannot happen. So until the next episode, see you guys and have a good time. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you are liking the podcast, go to the Apple iTunes store and give Game Dev Unchained a 5-star rating. This will help spread the joy and love and exposure for the podcast, and we thank you very much. If you want to continue the conversation, go to our Discord, which can be found on our website, www.gamedevunchained.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at BlueChamps, BLUCHAMPS. You want to catch these episodes live every Tuesdays and Thursdays, go to twitch.tv/blue_champs. Email me any of your concerns or questions that you want me to read aloud at the beginning of each episode at info@gamedevunchained.com. And if you want to further support us and help unlock the next feature, which is the voicemail feature, go to patreon.com/BlueChamps. This gives listeners a chance to kind of call in, leave a message for both me and the guests to answer your deepest, darkest questions and comment on your deepest, darkest secrets. Thank you, everybody.